Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael, of the tribe of Dan, of the nation of Israel. This particular presentation, brothers and sisters, we do not intend for it to be long. Nonetheless, we want to, brothers and sisters, bring this out for the people and to the people. While the people were speaking and talking about a matter of what they normally refer to as, quote, Black History Month, we want to, brothers and sisters, present history to our people regarding the matter of the Israelites. While we know good and well that we can never marginalize the history of Black people within 28 or at every other 4 years, 29 days. We do know and understand, brothers and sisters, that there is nothing wrong with talking about one's own history. And while we, the house of Israel, the children of Israel, while we are laying claim to being these people, brothers and sisters, it will definitely behoove us to want to know what this is about. I want to, on a human level, give due respect to my lady, Sarah Michaela of the house of Israel. And brothers and sisters, I want to give due respect to my teachers, some of them who have passed away, More Yosef, Kohen Lewi, Kohen Malkiel, More Tibak, Chi Simeon, among others. And some of my teachers who are still among us. May the Most High continue to bless their life. Kohen Mikael, More Yehotzedek, among others. Brothers and sisters, we ask you all to subscribe to the channel. We ask you all to comment, to like, and to share. And the information on how to reach out will be expressed in this presentation. We thank you all for subscribing, watching. We thank you all for clicking like, and so forth. So, without any further ado, if I can be heard, and if people are in good spirits, can you please type in the number 4? If I can be heard, and if people are in good spirits, can I please, brothers and sisters, can people type in the number 4? And it is appreciated. We hope everybody is well, doing well, and will be better, brothers and sisters. We do not profess to know everything. And nonetheless, brothers and sisters, in this particular case, we hope you all are having a good evening and will have even a better week. Most High willing, I will be turning a new age come this weekend. I will be 43 years old. And I was speaking not too long ago with my lady. Thank you, Sarah, for typing in the number 4. About, if I'm not using the wrong word, a transformation that I feel going on in my own life. Things that I want to get accomplished, things that I want to get up off the ground, and so forth and so on. So, in light of that, I want to say Toda on a human level to the people. Thank you for buying the brothers' books. To the family, extended all the way out in the United Kingdom, who have purchased the brothers' books. I definitely do appreciate that. To the family that show the books on their personal Facebook or Twitter pages, I definitely do appreciate that. To the family who supports me, encourages me, and at times in love gives a brother a spiritual and healthy rebuke, I appreciate that. So, without any further ado, brothers and sisters, I ask you all to get your pens, your pads, and your papers as we talk about the history of the kings of Israel in regards with Black History Month, because the kings of Israel were Black, and We're going to be talking about two people and then add on a third. We'll be talking about King Saul, where he started, his ending, his successor, and actually his successors in parts. So subscribe to the channel, we ask you all, and let us begin in this particular fashion. Let us pull the PowerPoint up. Start from the slideshow, from the beginning of such. Shalom. Giving honor to the Most High. This presentation is brought to you all from Danite Publications. Check out the website. Subscribe to the channel. Contact me, 908-587-4841. Again, brothers and sisters, that number is 908-587-4841. We hope you all are in good spirits, and you can reach me out by email, YYISRAEL, the number 22 at yahoo.com. So my email is YYISRAEL, the number 22 at yahoo.com. Let us continue on. History of the kings of Israel. In this we will discuss, we want to show this, if we will, with the laser pointer, the matter of Saul and Ishbosheth, the matter of Solomon, the matter of David, the division of the dynasties, the Assyrians and the Babylonians. Now, in due respect with people's time and not wanting to cram things in together, we're not going to go over all of those discussions in one setting. The intention is at the end of every month on this Gregorian calendar, the last 2 days or so, we are going to go from topic to topic to topic. So we ask you all to subscribe to the channels, More Yeshaya Torah Lessons and More Yeshaya History Lessons 2. This flyer was made by the people at Bayith Mazan. For those who are interested, check out the video tomorrow because they will get more publicity and more acknowledgement in that particular case. So let's continue on in this particular case, brothers and sisters. 1 Samuel, chapter 10, verse 1 through verse 12. And I'm going to read it, brothers and sisters, from my phone, if we will, and discuss it in part, if we will. 1 Samuel, chapter 10, and for purposes, brothers and sisters, we will be using the standard King James Version because that is the version that many people use. If there happens to be anything regarding the Hebrew that needs to be corrected, it will be done so in this presentation. Now let us read, brothers and sisters, 1 Samuel chapter 10, verse 1 through 12. Then Samuel took a veil of oil and poured it upon his head and kissed him and said, is it not because Yah hath anointed thee to be captain over his inheritance? When thou art departed from me today, then thou shalt find 2 men by a Rachel sepulchre, by the border of Benjamin at Zelzah, and they shall say unto thee, the donkeys which thou wentest to seek are found, and lo, thy father hath left the care of the donkeys and sorroweth for you, saying, what shall I do for my son? Then shalt thou go on forward from thence, and thou shalt come to the plain of Tabor, and there shall meet thee 3 men going up to Elohim to Baal, one carrying 3 kids, and another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and another carrying a bottle of wine. Now, why did I want to read that part? When you are coming with something to someone, be just that way. It didn't say that these 3 men were going to be coming and then everybody's just supposed to sit there and wonder what we're going to do, how are we going to get things done. There is a goal. There is already an idea of what is happening and who is bringing what to the table. Let's go on. And they will salute thee and give thee 2 loaves of bread, which thou shalt receive of their hands. After that, thou shalt come to the hill of Elohim, where the garrison of the Philistines. And it shall come to pass when thou art thither to the city, that thou shalt meet a company of prophets coming down from the high place, with their psaltery and timbrel and pipe and harp before them, and they shall prophesy. And the spirit of Yah shall come upon thee, and thou shalt prophesy with them, and shall be turned into another man. And let it be, when these signs are come unto thee, that thou do as occasion serve thee, for Elohim is with thee. Let's remember that, brothers and sisters, about the Most High being with us. And in that particular case, we don't want to forget that. A brother, and I'll take the liberty to say his name. His name is Akiva Ben Yehuda, a friend of mine on Facebook and in real life. He made a post that when I saw it, it struck me. And essentially what the post stated was, we are in contradiction because we say, look at what I did and look at what I accomplished, without acknowledging the Most High. While saying thank the Most High, we forget at times it's the Most High that causes us to be able to get things accomplished. So what Samuel is saying to Saul is that you will become another man, for Elohim is with you. And it goes on to say, and thou shalt go down before me to Gilgal, and behold, I will come down unto thee to offer burnt offerings and to sacrifice of peace offerings. 7 days thou shalt tarry till I come to thee, and show thee what thou shalt do. And it was so that when he turned his back to go from Shemuel, Elohim gave him another heart. And all those signs came to pass that day. And when they came thither to the hill, behold, a company of prophets met him, and the spirit of Elohim came upon him, and he prophesied among them. What do we want to point out? Not only were people bringing things such as wine and bread, Samuel talked about doing a sacrifice and an offering. You have to come with something, O men of Israel. We know about the Shalosh Regalim, or the 3 pilgrimages, such as the timing of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Passover, such as the timing of the Feast of Weeks, and such as the timing of the Feast of Booths, brothers and sisters. And it says the men are not to appear empty. So therefore, we have to be self-sufficient in one way, shape, form, fashion, or another in the house of Israel. Our culture teaches us that when it says thou shalt not covet. Don't want somebody else's, get your own. So brothers and sisters, when we get into this right here, and it says, and the spirit of Elohim came upon him, and he prophesied among them, and that he became a new man. You will not be the same person when the Most High, sorry for the lack of a better term, puts his hands upon you. But we want it to be for the good, brothers and sisters. We want it to be in that particular case. When the Most High is moving you, there is no wonder about it. You know exactly what it is in that particular case. So let us continue in this particular matter. All right. Now let's look at this. It says Shaul in Hebrew from the word Sha'al, a verb meaning to ask or to borrow. He was anointed by Samuel the prophet. He ruled for 40 years. Some people try to say 22 years, but brothers and sisters, in the understanding of the timeline, he ruled for 40 years. Now in the Hebrew we read, Waya'an ish misham, Wayomer umi abihem, al ken haita lamashal, hagam sha'ul ban bi'im. What are we reading in this case? Therefore, it became a saying or a proverb, mashal meaning proverb. It's all also among the prophets. There were always prophets in Israel. Nabi means prophet. Before that, there was called ro'eh, which means seer. So when we read now in Deuteronomy 18, and it says, the prophet will the Lord thy God raise up unto thee from the midst of thee of thy brethren, that cannot, and I say in no disrespect intended, be solely focused on, say, one individual, because every generation of Israel had prophets. Prophets in many cases, after the situation at Mount Sinai, was not something that the people, until the timing of the Maccabees, had to request. As we go along in this presentations, month after month on this particular calendar, brothers and sisters, toward the end of each month, we're going to sit there and see the role of the prophets within the roles of the kings of Israel. So let's continue in this particular case. Samuel, chapter 11, verse 1 through 14. We're not going to read this, but I want you to take these notes. That's why I'm asking you all to get your pens, your pads, and your paper so you can take your own notes and see what this is talking about. And so you can come while we're into the mode of, quote, Black History Month, what you can gather from that. Saul had war with the Ammonites. He was inaugurated twice, one in Gilgal, one in Mizpeh. His house was in Gibeah. He too had war with the Philistines. Due to attacking them, they had a harder chance of invading. He defeated two Moab, Edom, Zobah, and Amalek. Now, brothers and sisters, we're going to read as we go on before we conclude, in part, what happened with Amalek, because it shows you that the scriptures has a nationalistic concept and that it is not, oh, well, that was just the past, just forget it. We cannot, brothers and sisters, and using, not say as a crutch, but as a standard, while talking about, quote, Black History Month, we don't want to forget the legacy that our leaders have left. We don't want to forget, brothers and sisters, the legacy that our ancestors left. We don't have to do Mekwawe Hametim, or the Hebrew way of saying necromancy, or the bringing or raising up of the dead, because we got proverbs for that. So we ain't got to sit there and say, where's Solomon at? I need some advice. I'm going to call on the ancestors. This is why we promote writing for the future generations. And that is why when Rome came into the land of Israel, they tried to burn as much as they could of the Israelite records. Now, let's go on and see what this says here in the Hebrew. Watitzlak, Ruach Elohim, Al Shaul, Kasham O, Et Hadbarim Ha'eleh, Vayikar Apo Me'od. Now, brothers and sisters, let's look at this. And I would like to, while going over the Hebrew briefly, just highlight something, if we will. Right? We'll say the time allotted. Sorry about that. I'm going to use a different color, if I may, with this pen. See what I'm circling? That tile. And then we see here what, brothers and sisters? The word ruach. Ruach means spirit. If I can get a 4 from the people who are able to hear and in good spirits, please do so. The word ruach means spirit. Now, what I circled here with the letter tau there is a feminine letter. Ruach Elohim, spirit of God. In Hebrew, some refer to it as Shekinah, is a feminine principle. I want to emphasize that. Did you know that? Did you know that in Genesis, when it said the spirit of God hovered over the face of the waters, that is identified in the Hebrew verb as a feminine matter, not a woman, but a feminine matter, that the spirit of God is treated in its feminine principle. Israel, our language shows us something. So these are certain things that we just want to point out for edification purposes. Next slide, thanks. 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 1 through verse 22. Again, take that in your notes. We're not going to sit there and read all of that, but we want to go over its history in part. Under Saul, the Israelites began to be a people of independence. The laws in Deuteronomy 17 speak on the role of a king. Saul's death came about by his own hands in that he committed suicide. The person who ruled after him was his son Ishbosheth. Now, we know the history in part, that David was anointed while Saul was still on the throne. But what can we point out about David? David was always about rank and file and respect. We're going to point that out too. David wasn't, I'm the man now. Look at me. This is me now. I'm going to shine. No. When Abigail, the wife of Nabal, spoke to David about the matter of her husband, She was telling David, in a nutshell or paraphrasing, when you blow up to become the man, they're going to remember the deeds that you do. That's why we want to put good deeds in. Now, the situation happened where Nabal was not attacked by David, but he still fell. Saul was not attacked by David, but sadly, Saul did fall. You don't always, brothers and sisters, have to sit there and say, I'm going to get you, and it's going to be by my hand. The Most High will take care of the situation. That's how you know the Tanakh, the Old Testament as it's called, is a living book. Because you can apply it to things in life, brothers and sisters. Abraham's family was kidnapped in part, and he had to make war to get them back. David's wives was kidnapped in history, and we're going to go over that next month. And he had to make war to get them back. In marriages, I tell my lady, Sarai, that she to me is like Rebecca. What do I mean by that? Having made 22 months of her and I courting, brothers and sisters, is when Isaac was able to be comforted for his mother. That is not what you want to ever get rid of. You're not looking for a mother, but at the same token, having lost my mother over 18 years ago, and being now in the relationship that I'm in, I can't understand what Genesis 24 verse 67 talks about. Israelites wondering whether or not the scripture says you got to love your wife when it already says that Isaac loved Rebecca. Israelites wondering whether you should get a ketubah or a marriage certificate. Meanwhile, we see that Abraham and Sarah are written in the pages in the scriptures, so that alone definitely constitutes papers. You understand? We see that Jacob told Laban, give me my wife in Genesis chapter 29. Before they were even intimate. So these are things that we want to point out for edification purposes, brothers and sisters. All right. Now let's look at the Hebrew here, if we will. And I would like to show this with the laser pointer. Wayomer Shemuel, halo im kwaton ata be'eneka, roshipte Yisrael ata. Wayim shachaka yorewahi lemelek al Yisrael. What are we reading? And Shemuel said, though it is a small thing that's in your eyes, to you, that you are small, yet you are head of the tribes of Israel, and the Most High anointed you king upon or concerning Israel. What can we gather from that? That even if you don't understand your light, you don't understand the rays of light that may come from your spirit, sometimes somebody got to tell you this is who you are. See, there is, and I say this in no disrespect, a bit too much humility. Too much of anything can be bad. Did you know that? There is, as Ecclesiastes talks about, over righteousness. That's why when we read obey is better than sacrifice, these are things that we can relate to. Saul did not, no disrespect intended, see his light in full. Maybe his self-esteem was not very high. Sadly, we read at one part where it says that the spirit of Yah was removed from Saul and an evil spirit of Yah came upon him. So when you see people that be like, wow, he or she may be dealing with a mental matter, a mental illness, no disrespect to Saul, who attempted to do homicide on his son, attempted to do homicide upon David more than once. We want to point out, brothers and sisters, that these people still respected him and did not undermine him, even though his mind was not all the way there. Let's go on as we close out. First Chronicles 10. Now the sons of Saul were Jehonatan and Ishvi and Malchishua. And the names of his two daughters were these: the name of the firstborn Merab, and the name of the younger Michal. And the name of Saul's wife was Ahinoam, the daughter of Ahimaaz. And the name of the captain of his host was Abner, the son of Ner, Saul's uncle. What do we see right here? The genealogy matter. Saul, in due respect, kept it in the family. In a matter of saying, making his cousin Abner the captain of the army, who was respected within the nation of Israel. Saul's wife's name. We're going to read later on as the months go on. We're asking you all to subscribe to the channel. The kings of Israel, they got rid of the lasciviousness, the perversion, sexual acts, such as King Asa, such as King Jehoshaphat, such as King Josiah. They get praised in the nation of Israel. The men of Israel are to like the women of Israel. You understand? And brothers and sisters, Jonathan was intended to become the successor of Saul, but he was assassinated in war. I wanted to point this out. Sorry. What we're seeing right here, the kingdom of Saul, and this line shown out here, brothers and sisters, is for us to know and see the Philistines were still within that area there. Brothers and sisters, you had the Ammonites still on the east side of it, Moab on the east south side or the southeast side of it, and Edom was as well. So brothers and sisters, the children of Israel were, no disrespect intended, surrounded by enemies. You got to remember that Edom didn't want Israel to go through their own land, where the prophet Moses said, we will pay for anything that we eat. Esau didn't even want Jacob's money. Esau in Numbers chapter 21 or chapter 22, pardon me, one of the chapters, stated that we will come against you, Israel, with the sword. Ezekiel 35, we're going to do a whole other lesson about Israel and Edom in the book of Ezekiel, and so forth and so on. As time goes on, we ask you all to subscribe to the channel. They never liked the house of Israel, which is not a good thing for the house of Esau. So, brothers and sisters, you have it to where Saul made war against the people of Amalek, as we have gone over before. The Most High stated that he remembered what Amalek did to Israel when he brought Israel up out of the land of Egypt. So he commissioned Saul to tell Samuel, he commissioned Samuel to tell Saul to go and attack the Amalekites over something that was some centuries old. The Amalekites, and I hate to have to use this as an example, the Amalekites, like Dylan Ruth, they never offer an apology in sincerity. Remember Dylan Ruth, who some years ago went inside of a church of black people and started shooting and murdering people? Did he ever sit there and offer apologies and so forth? Well, Amalek did not offer any apologies, brothers and sisters, for the people whom they slain of the house of Israel. So what do we want to point out? That one, for the lack of a better term, the God of the Old Testament, the creator of heaven and earth. And I say the lack of a better term because the Old Testament is not really what it should be called. But it says in Ecclesiastes that the Most High requires the past. That's why, while we're making history, we want to leave a good legacy, brothers and sisters. So let's continue on and close out. 2 Samuel, chapter 2, chapter 3, and chapter 4. That also, take that in note, write it down, and you can read such on your own. What we're seeing here in 2 Samuel chapter 2, on the right-hand side, is the borders of where the kingdom was at that particular case. The matter of David and Ishbosheth. We want to remember that David never disrespected Saul. David had the utmost respect for his friend's dad, his father-in-law, and of course the anointed king of Israel. Ishbosheth ruled for 2 years. Ishbosheth was assassinated by Rechab and Baanah. The later two were killed by the orders of David. So what happened right there when you go in your own time in 2 Samuel 4? Ishbosheth was the son of Saul, and he was the person taken by Abner and made into the king of Israel. David was already anointed, but you know what? David still didn't disrespect rank and file. That's really my place. I was anointed. So what happened? Saul committed suicide after the matter with the witch of Endor when he could not fight off the Philistines. Right? And Ishbosheth took the throne. So you have part of Israel following Ishbosheth and part of, say, Judah following David. And the Amalekite came to David and said, Saul is dead. And David said, well, how do you know Saul is dead? Well, it came to pass when he was in distress, he said, kill him. So I killed him. It's like, you did what? Your mouth testified that you put your hand on the Most High's anointed. Touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. It reads as such in Psalms 105. So in light of that, that Amalekite was put to death. Come to find out, the Amalekite lied about how Saul died because Saul had committed suicide. Now, these people, Rechab and Baanah, assassinated the son of Saul that was ruling. David said, you was okay to do that to a man that was resting in his bed, and do not think that I'm going to sit there and cause you to be taken off the face of the earth. Correct me if I'm wrong, did they not kill that guy, Medgar Evers, and or Fred Hampton while he was in his bed? Do we see, sadly, how history does happen in that particular case? Do we remember, correct me if I'm wrong upon which name I'm trying to speak upon, Medgar Evers and or Fred Hampton, I'm trying to remember which one, was assassinated and slain in his bed? Well, these people slew Ishbosheth while he was in his bed. David had those guys put to death. David was known as having, as the Most High said, a heart after the Most High. You think I have problems with someone, so you jump into what you think my problem is and want to fix something that was none of your business in the first place. So if the Most High does not change, and from the time of the Amalekites attacking the Israelites in Exodus chapter 17, these same Amalekites became later known as the Tanis Hyksos in Egypt, right? The Most High wanted the vengeance upon that particular case. So while we talk about, say, Black history and how it relates in what we're presenting as the house of Israel, so will the Most High have it done to these people, one way or the other. Abraham Lincoln said, for every stroke of the lash in slavery, one of the soldiers who was white died in the Civil War. Did you know Lincoln said that in his second inaugural address? That for every stroke of the lash that they gave our people in slavery, one of their soldiers was put to death by the hands of their own people in the Civil War. When you read, correct me if I'm wrong, in Isaiah chapter 60 or Isaiah 54, I'm getting it right, pardon me. The Most High said that he will feed the enemies of Israel with their own flesh. So when we begin to see them going and quarreling among themselves, and the Most High does not change, brothers and sisters, do what you have to do, house of Israel, and the Most High will do what he will do. Conclusion and outro. Thank you, love, for typing that in. Fred Hampton was. Saul was a person who was chosen of the people. David said of Saul that the daughters of Israel are to mourn for him, for he clothed them in scarlet. It is a man's duty to provide for his lady. And as we see Elkanah said of his status to Hannah, the parents of Samuel, the Israelites owe a lot to the tribe of Benjamin, and that from Benjamin came the first king of Israel on a human level, and that is the baby tribe. Esther too came out of the house of Benjamin. Saul was a human, not perfect, and though he did not do everything right, his right was more than his wrong. We can learn a lot from Saul. One thing is to be a person who sees one's own light and position. We can also see that not seeing one's own light and position can lead to jealousy and to doing things like being a brother, as in the case of necromancy, being a bother, as in the case of necromancy. What am I pointing out in that case? Saul, we may say sadly, was jealous of David. Saul not seeing his own light. No disrespect intended to Saul himself. Shaul harlag alaifael. David harlag rabobotayo. Really, that's what you're saying? Saul slew his thousands and David his 10,000s? There was a way that Saul could have been like, of course, I teach David. He answered to me. If I say Tali Mayim David, Cain Adoni Melech, Ani Atelaka Mayim, which means fetch me water. Yes, my Lord, my King, I will go and fetch the water. So don't be a more or a teacher or a Nagid or a captain or a Saul or a prince or a Nasi or an elevated one. Sometimes people say Nasi means prince. That is very well and true as well. Don't be jealous of your underlings. Don't let that Willie Lynch thing continue in this Black History Month and in other cases. Don't look at the future generation like they just trying to show off. They admire you, elder. Take that as a thing in your hat. I taught him. I taught her. We don't want it to be where the older generation is jealous of the younger generation. And you sadly do have black men today who are jealous of the younger black man. And it's not trying to be sexist. We don't even want to go so far about the older women jealous of the younger woman. Because brothers and sisters, we got to end that kind of curse. And we got that power as the house of Israel. The things that Israel did cause the curses of Deuteronomy 28 to come upon us, so the things the house of Israel can do can reverse it. Goes on to say here in this outro, while we know that Saul had his faults, he was one of the best leaders Israel had, and the scriptures did not give us a romanticized story of him. May Saul and his sons rest in peace, and may the house of David be built and come to fruition. Shalom. The house of David is going to be, when it says that in Ezekiel 36 and Ezekiel 37. When you read in Ezekiel chapter 43, in Ezekiel chapter 44, about the prince and the offering he brings on new moon, that is talking about what comes out of the house of David. The Davidic line, the line of David, and the Levitical line, the line of the priests, is what the Europeans with the Greeks and the Romans tried to get rid of. In the book that my lady bought for me called the Apocrypha, it talks about how Antiochus Epiphanes wanted to sit there and say, no, don't do sacrifices and don't do circumcisions. Later on in history, Domitian of Rome, the son of Vespasian, also banned circumcision within the house of Israel to cut Israel off from doing what they were supposed to be doing. That is how the nations thrive. So let us continue on in this. This Thursday, March 2nd, check out the interview. I interview a great MC on this channel, Moreh Yeshaya, Torah lessons, that is. I interviewed the brother Akhtar Oud Achim, a talented MC, speaks on his history and the nation of Israel. This is a brother who I know is musically inclined. We asking you all to subscribe to the channel. Check it out. This coming so-called Thursday, March the 2nd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right? So these books are on Amazon. The book that my lady wrote, Chronicles of a Black Woman's Soul, those is poetry. My lady's from the house of Judah too, like the ancestor Dawid. Dawid was a poet. Everybody ain't for the poetry. That's how you know that the Most High gives a gift to one and not to the other. Poetry may not be your thing, but the Mizmorim or the Mizmorot, the Psalms, that's poetry. Some of the prophets were poetic, but not everybody is a poet. Not everybody is a prophet. On a human level, the book that my lady wrote, I read it. Some of the poems are sad. Some of the poems are funny, but none of them are fake. You understand? The book on the right-hand side, From Avaris to Alabama, The Journey of the Hebrews, you too can get this book on Amazon. So brothers and sisters, and giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. Yes, you're welcome, love, for sharing it. The sister, the lady I'm quoting with, Toda Rabbah Malak, for sharing. Yes, of course, this is what we do. We promote and share what we do, brothers and sisters. You know you got some brothers and sisters who won't sit there and who will not sit there and share on purpose. That's the Saul mentality, sadly, when it says the evil spirit of Yah came upon him. You don't hope that somebody else gets shined like he tried to dim David, and David still respected him. So as pointed out, though Saul was not perfect, he was one of the great kings. He was the first anointed king. What on a human level did he have as a mark to say this is what is to be done? So let us learn from that, brothers and sisters. We cannot, O house of Israel, knock the Black Panthers. And I want to close out in part in saying this. You cannot talk about the Sakari during the Roman Empire, the Ebionites during the Roman Empire, the Zealots during the Roman Empire, the Sadducees during the Roman Empire, the Pharisees during the Roman Empire, and talk about how each political party in those particular days, and then sit there as an Israelite and knock and discredit RBG or the Black Panther Party. Why do I say that in closing this out? Saul was a general and he was a leader, and he made Abner his general. David definitely was about war when it came down to it. You understand? So, brothers and sisters, Israel, we may want to broaden, we may want to broaden our scope and horizons, because we don't want to be looked upon and seen only saying Shabbat Shalom, only coming together on Shabbat and holy days. And then, as it says in Jeremiah, is Israel a homeborn slave? I'm at work now, I'm at work now. If you can't answer the phone or if you can't text, then text when you ain't on the plantation. And with that, I say shalom. Most High bless. Thank you, Sarai, for moderating for me. Thank you, family, for participating. Subscribe to the channel. Remember, more than Yeshaya Torah lessons. This so-called Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I interview the brother Dawood Akeem. All right? Shalom.